Hello. Thanks for joining us. This is our fourth in a series of live Facebook Live events. I'm Charles Spaulding. I work for BioMarin Pharmaceutical, and I'm part of the team that develops educational tools for patients and healthcare providers with PKU. I'm joined today by Christine Brown, the Executive Director of the National PKU Alliance, and today's topic, our topic du jour, is the Back to Care program.
Hi, Charles. Thank you so much for joining us. The National PKU Alliance is an organization made up of 17 state and regional organizations across the country. We were formed a decade ago because there was no consolidated place for people to send research funds, and there was really no national voice for PKU. There were no national education programs or support programs. Now, a decade later, we've invested more than $3 million in research. We hold a national patient conference, and we have a number of national education and support programs, including the Back to Care program, which we're talking about today. But most importantly, I'm also a mother of 2 children with PKU, ages 11 and 13. And so I am in this journey with you.
So Christine, I want to talk real briefly about Back to Care, our topic for today. I know there's about 16,500 people in the U.S. that are living with PKU.
That's right. And what's interesting, Charles, is we did a clinic survey about 2 years ago where we surveyed the entire clinic landscape here in the United States to find out how many patients were being seen at the PKU metabolic centers across the country. And what we found shocked us. More than half of PKU people living in the U.S. are not seen in clinics. They haven't been seen in the last 2 years. And so the National PKU Alliance reached out to medical food companies and BioMarin, and we all came together and added our local affiliate organizations to create the Back to Care program. What that program does is it provides services for adults who are looking at returning to care. We have resources available, people to assist you in your journey, information from all of our partners. We have a clinic locator and a number of ways that we can support you in your individualized journey to get back to care.
And I think we're no fools to understanding that getting back to care is very difficult. And we're extremely fortunate today to be joined by 2 very special guests who at one point really did need to find their way back to care. And I'd love for them to introduce themselves and share a little bit more about their story. Johnny, we'll start with you. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thanks. My name's Johnny. I'm 5 years old. And I went off management right around 14.
And Johnny, why, if you don't mind my asking, why or how did you go off management?
I think it was mostly laziness. Just getting tired of managing it and just dealing with it, and it wasn't even a wanting to be normal. It's just I was just done, and it's like I didn't care anymore because age 14 you start to not care about things. But
so I'd like to come back to that in a few minutes to just sort of hear about more of the reasons why and how it affected you. But David, I'd love for you to share your story with us. It's a little bit different.
Yes, it is, Charles. I was diagnosed at the age of 2 years old in 1961. At 5 years old, I was taken off by the doctors. I was taken off my management program, and it was a while to getting back on.
So you were born with PKU before newborn screening. I think they did the diaper test back then, but they didn't have the Guthrie test, and they really, there wasn't a way to know for sure if you're a PKU patient.
Right.
Johnny, back to your story. I'd like to know a little bit more about how you were feeling, kind of when you decided, gosh, this is just too much, and I don't think I can do this anymore. Yeah. What was life like?
I think it was my late 20s that I started. It was like a leaky faucet. I started to see a slow, gradual effect, and then it got to be too much, meaning my memory was, I just couldn't remember anything. The fog was becoming a bit of a problem, but more so than that, I saw affecting my wife and even my kids, and it started to become a greater problem.
I'd like to remind everybody who's watching us today that at any time during our broadcast today, which will be about 20, 25 minutes long, please type in your questions and we'll get to them as quickly as we can and as many of them as we can. Questions for any of us. David, your story, I know it had been quite some time, really. You had left at 5 years old because at the time,
Yes.
I think physicians, even leading clinic teams, were under the impression that your brain has stopped developing and you no longer needed to manage your PKU. Of course, today we know that's very different, and PKU needs to be managed for life. But what was life like for you, having been so long without managing PKU? You even said that you'd sort of forgotten you had PKU.
Yes, that's exactly it. I basically went about life as a normal kid. I forgot I had PKU, and I ate whatever I want whenever I wanted. And I had issues, but I figured it was just a kid with problems, a kid with normal issues, a memory, whatever it may be.
And I think it's important to remember that things are so different now. Not only are folks saying you need to manage PKU for life, but we now have guidelines that say what your levels should be at, between 2 and 6 for life. And Christine, you can share with us, that's a little bit, for everyone it can be different. Those are the goals. Lower is obviously always better, but that's the whole point of Back to Care. It's realizing that there are more options. And before we go any further, I'd really just like to share, if you or someone that you know or love is looking to get back to care, what is the NPKUA program all about?
Right. So we have a phone number that you can call, or you can go on a website. So you can call 888-347-3117 or visit backtocare.org. And the program will connect you via that website or the phone number to a person who can direct you to the resources that you need to start your journey back to care. I think it's important to realize that everybody's journey is different. There's a lot of different management options that are available, and everybody's management is going to be very individualized. And you work with your clinic team as a team together to really come up with a plan that is going to be the best for you.
And if you haven't been to clinic in a while, or you know someone that needs to get back to clinic, the Back to Care program can help you find a clinic. You can go to the website, backtocare.org. There's even a finder right here on the Facebook page. If you look to the left, you'll see there's a PKU clinic finder. And all of us partner together to keep our databases up to date and make sure if there's changes, we have those so that we can direct people to the greatest resources possible. Johnny, a little bit more about your story. So you'd left management. You said you were lazy, but I think you said it was basically easier to just sort of eat what you wanted, do what you wanted to do.
Right.
Tell me when things started changing and when you really thought about, gosh, something's not quite right here.
Yeah, so I started seeing the effects more in my later 20s. But I think what changed was when I saw that it was having an effect on my kids and my wife, I realized that it wasn't just a me thing. There's a greater, there's a ripple effect that it would affecting not just me and like all my brain and everything, but it's my family, my work, and that kind of thing.
And what were some of those effects? What kind of made you think, you're affecting your family and the people you love?
Yeah. It's, I think the irritability thing was probably the big one. It's just, I was reacting in ways that I knew I shouldn't, and it wasn't just having a bad day. I knew what I was like on diet. And so seeing myself, off management, it was not good. And yeah.
I think a lot of people have said, that diet is so difficult. And it's important to remember that things are so different now. There's so many options available if you are looking to get back to care. David, your story is just fantastic. And it had been how long since you were back to care?
47 years. 47 years since between when I was taken off by the doctors and when I eventually went back to care.
Tell us a little bit about first what life for those 47 years was like. And I know that you also have a brother with PKU.
Yes, my brother is 2 years older than I am, and he's been in an institution and group home his entire life. Life was like, it seemed normal to me. And I think that happens a lot when you go off your management program. It seems normal. but then you see things manifest in yourself that are not you, and then that's a red flag, I think.
So Charles, we actually have a question that came in from Danielle. She said, how did things improve as you got back on track?
Great question.
I think I started seeing my memory just start snapping rather than like sitting there and trying to think it through. And then also my attitude, like I was just a lot more happy, period.
Johnny, what were your blood Phe levels when you're kind of lost to management, you don't know what they are, but you came back, and what were they at?
Yeah, off management, it was probably the high 30s. And when I came back, I have a little bit of enzyme activity, so the margin they wanted me at was closer in the teens, like lower teens. So that's kind of where they're at now.
So even though the experts are saying between 2 and 6, you're in the teens and you're saying that you feel much differently.
Yeah.
And David, how about you? What were those levels when you went back? And I'd love for you to share the story of sort of what brought you back.
Yes.
Okay. Well, the first and foremost, I guess, what brought me back was the birth of my granddaughter here in California, and I was living on the other side of the country, and I called my daughter's dietitian, and I spoke with her, and she said, let's not talk about her right now. Let's talk about you.
Well, so wait a second, David. So your granddaughter was born, and she was diagnosed with PKU,
Yes.
correct?
Yes. Yes, she was diagnosed with PKU. And in talking to her, she gave me a brief synopsis of my daughter, my granddaughter, and then she told me, you need to go back to PKU, and you need to get a management program for yourself. And then they put me in line with a clinic in Virginia, and then where I was located, and that's what I did.
So David, what brought you back? You know, the dietitian said, hey, we need to talk about you. We need to get you back to care. And what was going through your mind at the time?
I was thinking, like, what could have been? I mean, what could my childhood have been like? Are these issues? Was it something? Could I have achieved more during my childhood? Could I have been this much better, or what effect would it have had?
So you were open to it. You
Yes,
weren't thinking,
absolutely.
gosh, I'm
Absolutely.
now in my 60s, and is it too late for me?
No way. I was excited.
That's
Wow.
great.
And so tell us a little bit about how you feel differently now that you're back in clinic.
Now that I'm back in clinic, I realize that the issues that I was dealing with were related to PKU, and I see me under my current management program, and I feel so much better and so much more relaxed, and it affected my job and a lot of my life.
David, what were your blood Phe levels when you first went back? I'm sure you had no idea. It was basically coming in and spinning the wheel, and what was it going to be?
Yeah, it was 31, and I said, okay, so what's 31? But it was a 31, and then they put me on a relaxed management program because I've been off management program for such a long time, and then I just kept working to get to where they wanted me eventually.
I think you hit on something that's really important. Back when you were diagnosed and you were told you could leave treatment or leave management of any kind, the physicians and the dietitians, they really didn't have the understanding that they have today that it is a difficult journey and it's not easy. And that's why I think time is different now, and that there's a team that appreciates the burden of illness and how difficult it is to stay managing that PKU. And that's one of the benefits to Back to Care.
Absolutely. It's really not your fault. There's so many challenges to treating PKU across the lifetime. And, getting those levels down, even, a little bit, you've seen amazing relief of a lot of symptoms that you had. And, you might be thinking, well, I feel okay. Well, we don't want you just to feel okay. We want you to feel like the best that you can be. So we actually have another question that came in, Charles.
Are there support networks for adults who are returning to care? And this comes from Stacy Lee. Thank you for sending the questions in, and please keep them rolling in. Support networks, well, gosh, there's a lot. In fact, Back to Care is its own support network. If you call the telephone number or you reach out to the website, someone will reach out directly to you. and they can help put you in touch with people who either have PKU or experts who care about you. Folks here at BioMarin that can talk to you about options that are available. The National PKU Alliance, they have people who can talk to you. So there's actually several networks. The Facebook.
So we can connect you to things that are, right in your area. And again, that number to call is 888-347-3117, or visit backtocare.org.
Christina, I was just going to say that another way to connect with people is right here on Facebook. If you're on this channel, this page, and you're watching this video, there's people typing in, whether you're live or you're watching this a year from now, that you can reach out to and ask them questions. That's the greatest thing about social media is it's a network, and it's a way to connect with others who have PKU.
Absolutely. There's really no reason why you have to go on this journey alone.
Johnny, you said that you never really felt you were alone, but you felt like you were hurting the people you loved. Were you ever told by any of them that, hey, I think it's time for you to think about managing your PKU, or did you make that decision just on your own?
So my mom has been a big part of that, just encouraging me. But once I moved out and started doing things on my own, it slipped my mind. And my wife, she only knew me off management. So big change now. It's not like my personality has changed. It's just I'm a better me.
She has Johnny 2.0, husband 2.0.
Right.
How about for you, David?
For me, it was a little different. And my wife, picking up on Johnny's point, she kind of said, "You need to get." If I would slack off on my management program, she would say, "You need to get back managing your PKU, or I'm going to make you look like a raccoon." So it's really crucial, and the support you get from your family, your loved ones, is immeasurable.
So can you tell me a little bit more, David, about when you made that phone call? What was that first clinic visit like?
The first clinic visit was it was a little intimidating at first. I was in a pediatric hospital, and I was with all these kids, and they walked in, and I think they were maybe a touch skeptical, but they welcomed me, and they were intrigued by me, and it couldn't have been a greater experience for me.
Great. And what about you, Johnny? Tell us a little bit about what happened during that first visit.
Yeah. So I talked to I knew where to go. I went back to where I've always been going. So I made the phone call, and I just kind of asked my dietitian and my geneticist, "Hey, what's the first step?"
So you asked the clinic and there might be folks watching who say, "Gosh, I don't even know where to go. I don't know how to find a clinic."
Yeah.
Well, there is a clinic finder available, as we mentioned, right here on the Facebook page, the PKU.com Facebook page. There's also one available, the Back to Care website, and at PKU.com. So finding that clinic, and you had mentioned it was a children's hospital, and I think it is important to remember, because PKU is a metabolic disorder, most treatment centers are at children's hospitals. So you have to remember that even if you're, as an adult, walking under that Winnie the Pooh sign or whatever it may be, it's absolutely critical that you manage PKU for life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Christine,
Absolutely.
can you tell us a little bit about how Back to Care is going? Kind of what are you seeing? What are some of the results that you're seeing of people who do make that decision that, gosh, I need to treat this disease for life?
Right. I think that the program has really been successful since we launched it. We've heard from more than 45 adults, I think, at this point. All in different places, in their journey, and to be able to connect them back to a clinic, connect them to resources, has just been so rewarding. I really feel that as a parent of children with PKU, that, my children stand on your shoulders. They stand on the shoulders of people like David and Johnny. And because of what they've had to go through and being taken off of treatment when you were young, my children will just be so much better and have so many more opportunities because of what you had to go through.
And your children are still quite young. I know when Johnny was in his early teens, data suggests, all the statistics, they suggest that that's when people really start straying from from managing their PKU, be it peer pressure, be it expense of it. And if you could go back in time and talk to that 14, 15, even 18-year-old Johnny, what might you have said to him or done a little bit differently?
Yeah, I think what I would have said, it's just not worth it. There are people that you can connect with, so try. Because I didn't think I could connect.
And when you say you don't think you could connect, does that mean you didn't know who to connect with? You didn't know where to go?
Well, I think as a 14-year-old, you just kind of feel isolated for a lot of reasons. And so, the PKU makes it more isolating. And so if you can forget about it, you just write it off. But the truth is, it shouldn't be isolation. You can actually include yourself.
Before we started today, you said that you felt normal at the time. And then you were able to bring those blood Phe levels down, and it was a new normal.
Mm-hmm.
Can you or either of you really tell us about what that new normal was like? And for you especially, David, what you wish you had known 40, 50 years ago?
It is a new normal, and it's amazing. It's eye-opening for me, because like I said earlier, I didn't realize that these were PKU symptoms that I was dealing with, and then when I went on the management program after being on a while, it's like, oh, okay, I get it now, and it's just I don't know, it's just hard. I know it's hard to deal with, but you can't give up.
Absolutely. So, hey, Charles, you need to throw away that first cue card there. Oh, we actually have it. So, again, that phone number is 888-347-3117, or you can go visit backtocare.org. It's also important to let you know that you don't have to be an adult to call that phone number or to go onto the website. I get phone calls from parents and from siblings almost on a weekly basis, and they realize, oh my gosh, my child still has PKU, or my sister still has PKU. I had no idea that they were supposed to still be on treatment. So it can be a family member that calls, and so great for family members to reach out, because a lot of times you're the ones too that might be seeing these changes that somebody with really high Phe levels may not be able to recognize, right? Because Johnny, both of you probably felt like, hey, I'm doing pretty fine. Maybe for Johnny, PKU was in the back of your mind, like, oh, maybe this is the PKU, but really you're like, hey, I'm fine. I don't need any help.
Yeah, you do. You sweep it under the rug, but you need to. I would also say to people with PKU, pay attention to what your loved ones are saying.
Right.
Because
friends, your family.
You're not aware until you're on management again. You're like, oh, they're right.
Well, David was saying you forgot you had PKU.
Yeah.
Yes, basically that was the case, and and I struggled. I went to college and I struggled in college, and I always wondered, had I been in management, I bet you I could have summa cum laude. Who knows?
Right, but the important thing is that it's important to look back, but that shouldn't hold you back to making that step today to move forward and see just how much better life can be.
If you're watching us today and you're wondering, okay, so if I do go to the website and I do ask for someone to email me, or I call that phone number, who's on the other end? The other end is a call center where they can actually put you in touch with someone, the type of person that you're looking to see. That may be someone at BioMarin, that may be someone at the National PKU Alliance. Regardless, they're trained to sort of help you find out what your needs are and put you in touch with the right person.
Right, and that phone number again is 888-347-3117, or you can visit backtocare.org.
Before we wrap up today, I'd love to hear a little bit more about, you've both come back to care, and I'd love to hear about how things are going now. We talked a little bit about what your blood Phe levels are like, but how is life different now?
I think the thing that's most different is, I'd like to say awareness. If I could say one word, is I'm more aware of things. I'm more aware of my PKU. It's just this awareness, but it's not limited to just, oh, now I know about it, because I've always known I've had it, but I'm involved in a way to where, it's making me be a better person, I think.
Right. I think you said earlier too that now you feel like you're the best father and the best husband that you can be.
Right.
How about for you, David?
For me, it was a little different.
Go ahead, share us.
It was.
It was different really for you because it had been a long time.
Yeah,
right?
it'd been a long time, and when I got on the management program, it like I said, it was eye-opening. And then when I would stray away from my management program, I would snap, or I wouldn't like myself, and I'm like, I need to get back. I mean, this is crazy, And my wife was saying, you need to get back, and the people supporting you are crucial.
So it's not related to our program today, but I did want to get you to share something very special of someone you're going to meet today for the first time.
Yeah, so I'm going to get emotional now. Tomorrow I will be driving down to Monterey and meeting my 2-year-old grandson, and I'm just beside myself.
We're very excited for you. And this will be your third grandchild?
Yes.
And your first without PKU, is that correct?
That's correct.
Johnny and David, before we wrap up today, is there anything that you would like to share with folks who may be watching today that either want to get back to care or know someone who'd like to get back to care?
Yeah, you're not alone. All the struggles, the people that have PKU, they can relate with you. And I avoided that. Don't do it. Don't avoid the people that you can relate with.
I would say, I would echo what Johnny says, and I would say one other thing: don't ever give up. Keep fighting.
It is never too late. I know that the guidelines from PKU experts today, they say you can always see an improvement in symptoms. It is never too late. I would like to thank both of you for taking the time to fly out here and be a part of our program today. And Christine, thank you so much for having the foresight to start a program like this.
Absolutely. So please, we can help you get back to care. Visit backtocare.org, or you can call 888-347-3117. Thank you so much for joining us today on this Facebook Live event.